the Desert Research Institute Foundation presents Sea, Earth, and Sky, celebrating the spirit of scientific exploration, discovery, and innovation. Honoring the 31st DRI Nevada Medalist, world-renowned Earth explorer, Dr. Kathryn D. Sullivan, featuring award-winning journalist James Fallows and guest appearances. The special presentation begins now.
Hi, I'm Kamud Acharya, President of the Desert Research Institute, or DRI as we call it today. Welcome to the 31st DRI Nevada Medal, Sea, Earth, and Sky, celebrating the spirit of exploration, discovery, and innovation. Thank you for joining us.
And I am Mike Benjamin, Chair of the DRI Foundation. The Nevada Medal ceremony is unlike any other in the 30-year history of this prestigious award. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, the Tom and Mary Gallagher Foundation. In 2021, we are bringing you an hour-long special in a format very different than previous years. In the next hour, we will look back at the history of this award and how it was shaped to recognize great minds in science, technology, and engineering. From yesterday to today, we will peek into the promising future of science, of innovation, and of solutions to our changing landscape on this little blue marble we call home. We will honor former NASA astronaut, oceanographer, and all-around Earth explorer, Dr. Kathryn D. Sullivan. We will hear all about her career highs and lows, quite literally, as she is the first woman to walk in space and the first woman to reach the deepest points in our oceans. Join us in a sit-down fireside chat with the distinguished James Fallows. Fallows is a writer and author of a dozen books, a national correspondent for The Atlantic.
Indeed, the Nevada Medal goes back an impressive 30 years. However, the DRI story began more than 6 decades ago. Between DRI's 2 campuses in Reno and Las Vegas, here in the great state of Nevada, we have more than 450 scientists, faculty, and staff who are actively exploring hundreds, if not thousands, of research questions. These unanswered questions have the potential to impact us, our families, our friends, our neighbors, and our planet as a whole, not just here, but across our nation and around the globe.
And we can all agree, our lives and our world look and feel very different today than they did not too long ago. The need for scientific research, environmental, health, and technology are ever present and are critical now more than ever. Today, with this special Nevada Medal program, we tip our hats to the explorers, the innovators, and the risk takers at DRI and throughout the scientific community, whose efforts, discoveries, and solutions make all of our lives better for today and tomorrow.
This is the 31st DRI Nevada Medal.
But first, before we can look to the future, we must take a look at the past and how the Nevada Medal became what it is today, one of the most revered and admired and important honors in the scientific community. To help us tell the story of the past 30 years, we've enlisted the help of 2 extraordinary women. The first is Sue Wagner, the first woman to be elected as Lieutenant Governor in Nevada's history, and the 30th person to hold the elected position. And the second is Dr. Marcia McNutt, the most recent recipient of the 30th Nevada Medal. She's a geophysicist and president of the National Academy of Sciences. So I guess 30 is the magic number for this next piece. Together, these 2 accomplished professionals help us tell the story of the Nevada Medal.
The DRI Nevada Medal was created in 1988 to recognize outstanding scientific achievement. The very first Nevada Medal recipient was Dr. Werner E. Suomi, inventor of the spin scan camera that gave television weather reporters their satellite pictures. He was known as the father of satellite meteorology. Ever since the first award and throughout the last 3 decades, the DRI Foundation has been proud to acknowledge many more trailblazers whose discoveries and contributions have made our lives and our world better.
During the 30 years, we have come a great way to recognize women and men around the country, and I think that's really the lasting image and meaning of the Nevada Medal.
Distinguished geophysicist Dr. Marcia McNutt was honored with the 30th Nevada Medal in 2017. As the first female president of the National Academy of Sciences, Dr. McNutt serves on the forefront of scientific research, science education, and communication.
When I received the Nevada Medal, I felt like I was a Nobel Prize winner in Stockholm. The way that the entire state turned out to honor scientists is second only to how Sweden celebrates its laureates.
The Nevada Medal is widely recognized as one of the highest scientific honors presented to individuals who have demonstrated excellence in their chosen fields of science, technology, and engineering.
Receiving the 30th Nevada Medal was one of the distinct honors of my lifetime. Never thought that something that wonderful would happen to me, and I display it proudly in my office.
The Nevada Medal is an 8-ounce minted medallion made of .999 pure Nevada silver.
Every medalist gets to take with them and keep a little piece of our silver state in every medal. And that is symbolic in a way of what DRI is all about, sharing. We share our research and we share our desire to make this world a better place for all, beyond geographic borders. While DRI is based in Nevada, both our scientists and our medalists come from all over. DRI is global. Positive impact from our discoveries and innovation is felt all over the world. At this very moment, there are DRI scientists in every continent of this globe, studying earth-shattering challenges head-on, finding life-changing solutions for us all. We will take a look at this amazing work in just a moment, but first, as the only environmental research institute within the Nevada system of higher education, DRI works closely with the Nevada Board of Regents and Chancellor Dr. Mallory Rose. At DRI, we truly appreciate their vision and leadership. Here now is a message from Dr. Rose.
It is my honor to be able to speak to the amazing innovation stemming from the work taking place at our state's top environmental research institute. I am so proud of DRI's commitment to innovation and excellence through inclusion. DRI is among the global leaders in environmental research, and it is really impressive to see the teams of scientists collaborating on solving some of the most pressing environmental questions we are currently facing, and taking those challenges head-on with scientific, data-driven solutions. Congratulations to DRI for pursuing excellence in science through equity, innovation, and strategic private-public partnerships. And a big congratulations to the 31st Nevada medalist, Dr. Sullivan. You are a role model and an inspiration to every person who looks up at the sky and wonders what's up there, and to every little girl who wonders if women can walk in space. Congratulations.
A world of questions. Drought, flooding, wildfire, a warming climate. For more than 60 years, DRI's atmospheric, hydrologic, and earth scientists have been discovering innovative solutions to some of Earth's most challenging questions. With your support, we are searching for solutions to the impacts of microplastics in waterways to understand their effect on water quality. Creating access to safe drinking water for communities in developing countries, protecting and enhancing food crops in the changing climate, flying into wildfires to create new models to help firefighters better manage them, and helping America to stay safe by developing solutions for our military. And we don't stop there. Our Center for Genomic Medicine is unlocking the connections between the environment and your health to help you and your loved ones live a healthier life. We're exploring Earth's most extreme environments to learn what that might mean for the potential of life beyond our own planet. And we're inspiring the next generation of scientists to become the problem solvers of the future through hands-on STEM education. At DRI, the world's challenges aren't stumbling blocks, because discovering solutions is what we do. Impactful science, inspiring solutions. This is DRI.
From the air we breathe, to the water we drink, to everything in between, it matters. It matters to all of us at DRI. We know it matters to your families. The great minds at DRI are leaving no stone unturned in our quest to address some of the most pressing and complex scientific challenges facing our world at this very moment. And our DRI researchers are meeting those questions head-on, leading the way in finding practical, robust, and real-world solutions in addressing those real-life questions. DRI is providing timely, factual, and necessary research that impacts our daily lives and those of our loved ones. This is donor-driven research at its best. The passion and commitment our scientists bring to the work they do fuel their discoveries and innovative solutions. And our DRI ambassadors understand the importance of supporting those studies that affect humanity at home and beyond. To them, we say thank you.
One of the key elements of DRI, I think, is its work in water. And so they're doing it around the world, whether it's water in the form of ice coring in the Antarctic and the Arctic, or trying to produce water in Africa. So almost any human situation that you want to name, there's somebody at DRI that's working at it.
I'm Nora James, Vice Chair of the DRI Foundation, here with my husband, Bruce James. I love the DRI vision of a world in which trust between science and the public forms the basis of a more sustainable and resilient environment for all people to live, prosper, and grow.
We've lived in Nevada for nearly 30 years, and we've had ample opportunity to observe where DRI does make a difference, both here in Nevada and around the world. I'm very proud to be a DRI Foundation Fellow. Nora and I have supported DRI for many years.
Before Hollywood decided to make science cool with shows like The Big Bang Theory, DRI was making science cool right here in Nevada. Before COVID made distance learning the imperative for K-12 education, DRI had the Green Box program, which sends scientific lessons right into the classroom through large green, yes, boxes, into some of the most rural classrooms of all of Nevada. The Green Boxes contain hands-on learning packages covering a variety of curriculum our budding scientists can wrap their heads around, as well as the teaching tools that our strapped educators need to teach.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be with you. From its inception more than 60 years ago, the Desert Research Institute is a treasured Nevada resource that has nurtured scientific and engineering research, made groundbreaking discoveries, and disseminated knowledge critical to our future. When I think about DRI, I think about our future and the important role DRI plays in so many areas such as global climate change, water quality, sustainability of desert lands, and so much more. Boldly, collaboratively, with innovation at its core, DRI is at the center of discovery. On behalf of your partners at the University of Nevada, Reno, I'd like to tell all of the people at DRI that your work transforms for the better our most important human endeavors. Congratulations on your many successes and best wishes for many more years of impactful research. And congratulations to this year's Nevada Medal recipient, Dr. Kathryn Sullivan.
So many parallels can be drawn between Dr. Sullivan's awe-inspiring, groundbreaking achievements at NASA and as an oceanographer in reaching the spectrum between space and sea. Our very own trailblazing scientists at DRI go to great lengths every day to study our Earth, our skies, and our waterways, ensuring that we have the resources we need to live happy and healthy lives.
Dr. Sullivan actually began her career in oceanography. She later joined NASA's Astronaut Corps, and in October 1984, she became the first American woman to walk in space. She flew on 3 space shuttle missions, including the mission that deployed the Hubble Space Telescope. With the completion of her 3rd mission, Dr. Sullivan logged more than 532 hours in space. Incredible. Dr. Sullivan then went on to become the administrator of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. But those achievements in space were not quite enough for Dr. Sullivan. And in 2020, she went to the other extreme when she became the first woman to dive to the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of our oceans. Dr. Sullivan's contributions to our humanity and explorations are inspiring, and she's often found speaking and encouraging our next generation of female scientists to also reach for the stars. With the DRI Nevada Medal, we recognize Dr. Sullivan's outstanding achievements in her fields of science and recognize her contributions through her passion for exploration and humanity. The presentation for the 31st Nevada Medal is moments away, but first, we would like to introduce the Governor of the great state of Nevada, Steve Sisolak. It is customary and a long-standing tradition for the Governor of Nevada to make the presentation of such high honor for our state. We're excited to welcome Governor Sisolak as he presents the very first Nevada Medal of his tenure as a governor.
Hi, I'm Steve Sisolak. As governor of the great state of Nevada, I'm honored to be here today to continue a long-standing tradition of presenting our state's highest scientific honor, the DRI Nevada Medal. This award honors outstanding achievement in science, technology, and engineering. For more than 60 years, DRI has been a leader in environmental research throughout Nevada and around the world. They do it right here in our state. DRI's hydrologists are working to protect Nevada's waterways. Atmospheric scientists are investigating how to better understand wildfires to better fight them. Environmental scientists are unlocking the connection between our environment and our health. And they are all inspiring the next generation of scientists through STEM education. The events of the past year have reminded us of the importance of science to our lives. Scientific discovery saves lives. Scientific inquiry answers questions that we have pondered for years. And scientific exploration opens doors to questions that we haven't even thought to ask yet. This is the spirit that we honor today. The spirit that led Dr. Kathy Sullivan to a career that included many firsts. She was one of the first 6 women to join NASA as an astronaut. With 3 missions to space, she was a member of NASA's pioneering crew that launched the Hubble telescope. And when Hubble needed repair, Dr. Sullivan's spacewalk to make the repair made her the first American woman to walk in space. Her spirit of discovery also took her to the deepest depths of Earth's oceans when she traveled to the Mariana Trench. Dr. Sullivan, we honor and celebrate your curiosity, your passion for discovery, and for never allowing there to be limits to what is possible. I am pleased to present you the 31st DRI Nevada Medal. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you also to the DRI Foundation. I am truly honored to receive this medal and delighted to join the illustrious company of fellow medalists. I've always felt a kinship to the DRI. Its focus on both advancing knowledge and applying that to solutions to real-world problems lines up strongly with my motivations as a scientist. So I appreciate very much the award. I'm delighted to have the enduring link this provides to the institution. And I can't wait for the day that I can come out to Reno again and visit in person to catch up with all the exciting work that's going on. Once again, warmest thanks for this delightful honor.
Congratulations to the 31st Nevada medalist, Dr. Kathryn D. Sullivan. What an honor it is to have you join the ranks of our accomplished and world-renowned Nevada medalists. Thank you for your amazing contributions to our world through your risk-taking, your passion to explore the unknown, and for sharing those discoveries with all of us. A key feature of this program is a fireside chat between Dr. Sullivan and James Fallows. It was shot on location at their respective homes. James Fallows is a longtime writer for The Atlantic and author of 12 books. His most recent book, co-authored with his wife Deborah Fallows, is Our Towns, the 100,000-mile journey into the heart of America, which has become a national bestseller. He has reported from around the world, including multi-year postings in China, Japan, Southeast Asia, and Europe. Early in his career, he was chief White House speechwriter for President Jimmy Carter. Mr. Fallows studied American history at Harvard and studied economics at Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. Here now are Dr. Sullivan and Mr. Fallows.
Thank you very much, Mike. My name's James Fallows. I'm delighted to join you, and what an honor to be able to greet our 31st Nevada medalist, Dr. Kathryn D. Sullivan, who I'll refer to as Kathy. What a pleasure to be able to hear about your life in science and adventure in leading the nation and the world to new discoveries. I wanted to start with a question that might be a little bit unexpected, which is you're best known for your adventures around the world. You've been to space, you've been deep into sea, but unlike many astronauts, when they have come back from their adventures, you took on a position not going into politics, not being sort of a motivational speaker around the world, but deciding to become an organizational leader in Ohio and then nationally as the head of NOAA. Tell us about how you decided that it was worth you using your experience, your influence, your knowledge to make this shift to running scientific enterprises as opposed to being just an explorer, being an explorer yourself.
Well, yeah, thanks for that question, Jim, and it's just a delight to get to share some stories with you. So I think my root drive is exploring, and from a very early age, my focus really was all about planet Earth. I mean, in a foolishly broad sense, landscapes and cultures and languages and insatiable curiosity across all of those fronts. And I think the pattern in my life has turned out to be when I would hit each juncture, finishing high school or college or grad school, rather than just necessarily going down the presumed obvious next step path, I kind of treated it a bit like a game show. It was a potential pivot moment. With what you've gained and learned thus far, you could do that, but you could also veer a little left or right. Particularly with coming back from or moving on from NASA into the later part of my career, a really important drive there again was the planet. I'd had 3 space flights, just extraordinary views of this Earth, which crystallized so many things that I had studied intellectually as an Earth scientist. And what I found as I came to the end of my 3rd mission was I realized, one possible follow-on was, as you say, a motivational speaker, which kind of would be dining out on this tremendous perspective that I've had the privilege of having. And that can be inspirational. It could motivate other people to go into the sciences. There's a value to that. But what I realized was that's not enough of an impact for me, because as I looked down on the Earth, and my final flight came right as the end of the first Gulf War happened. So I'm looking down at Kuwait, for example, and seeing the scars of those massive fires and thinking about the consequence of all the airfall into the ocean and all that train of consequences that were just being studied down on the ground. And I realized I want to find a place where I can be more directly an agent for bringing the power of this space-based perspective, this ability to look at our Earth as a whole and start to understand it as a system of systems. I want to get to a place where I can really help connect that to the real world. I want this perspective I've had not just to be dinner talk. I want to make it matter for real people in the real world. And that's really what drew me to NOAA, because that's, to me, in a nutshell, the essence of NOAA's mission is make what we know and understand about the Earth useful and relevant and actionable to you and to me.
And in the audience here at DRI, we have a number of individual researchers and explorers and scientists, and people who've led big organizations as their skill. Is it natural for somebody who had been an explorer and adventurer, as you have been all your life, to develop the skills to run a large organization, to head a major federal agency, or is that something that you had to sort of intentionally learn, those skills?
I think it's more intentional than not. Although in my case, I think I'm a wonderful blend of both my mother and my father. My father's engineering and scientific aptitude, and my mother was everything about how people work and how societies and communities work. And so I was always curious about both of those dimensions. I think I was about 12 or 13 years old, and it must have been on the flanks of one of the presidential elections, that I actually started to wonder, and this is how I put the question to myself, how does a country make a decision? I mean, how does a nation make a decision? What's involved there? So to me, I always had an interest in trying to help move things forward. I think I had sort of a sense of there are better ways to orchestrate and motivate people than just the competitive, combative, agonistic Because one school of thought is the only way you get high performance and achievement out of people is to challenge, slant, threaten them, keep them insecure, keep them unstable. That can work, but it's not the only way to work. So I was also hungry for a chance to explore my own leadership aptitude and my own leadership philosophy, and that played a role. I got to start doing that again at an early age through some Girl Scout experiences. On my oceanographic expeditions as an undergraduate, I was given really more leadership latitude than would commonly be the case. So, I think a lot of these things are like going to the gym. Your leadership muscles, your organizational muscles, your courage and inquisitive muscles, they need reps to develop. So if you can get sort of low consequence, moderate consequence opportunities to just jump in and try it, that teaches you how to tackle and how to handle the consequences of larger challenges when they come.
So I've been to lots of parts of the world. I haven't seen the world from the perspective you have, either from above or from the abyssal depths. But one of the things that struck me about seeing the United States from the outside is how important the major scientific establishments of the United States have been. In recent times, the NIH and the CDC, and of course, NOAA. It's one of these crown jewels of publicly supported science. You've been a recent head of a major public scientific organization at a time when just the role of science is more embattled and controversial than it's been in much of our history. How should we think about re-establishing the role of science in the big decisions we all have to make?
I've watched that evolution just through the arc of my own career, from my first exposures to the scientific policy circles in the mid-'80s through to most recently at NOAA. And I agree with you, and it's clear. In the mid-'80s, when I started into this work, there was widespread confidence across both sides of the political aisle that science and technological expertise were valuable inputs to decision processes that would come to include other factors, but you wanted the best insight and judgment that the best scientists and engineers could give you, and no one ever inquired about the voting affiliation of any of the members on the first panels I was on. That really has changed over time, and I can't put my finger on quite what or who or when, but science has gotten intertwined with politics and has come to be viewed as just another political viewpoint. John Barry, who wrote the recent book on the great influenza of 1918, he put his finger right on it. He said, when you mix science and politics, you get politics. And I worry about that. I think the best scientific understanding we as a country have developed is a potentially powerful starting point, unifying point, touchstone from which to move forward on the more contentious aspects of a decision, the economic or the political ones. I worry about it when I think about our own lives as individuals. What becomes of a justice system if we lose all our faith and confidence in evidence? I'm not trying to claim it's perfectly objective ever, but it is arguably the best starting point we have to try to move forward and determine outcomes. Otherwise, what is it? It's my opinion of what you did or your opinion of what I did, and we'll go back to trial by ordeal. So I worry about that. But science has also become so removed. The doing of science, the experience of discovery, exploration, experimentation, rigor in observing and trying things has become so removed from so many people's lives. And I think that's played into how and why it can become seen as just a matter of opinion or political view.
I'm sure everybody watching this discussion would be grateful for your practical advice coming out of what you're just saying about trying to restore the role of science. You're an extremely well-known scientific and explorer figure around the world. You've been interviewed in every country. People have heard your views. What have you found effective in trying to get people's attention, open their minds, change their minds about having a calm and dispassionate and scientific approach to the world that you might share with your fellow scientifically minded people at DRI?
Well, I think there certainly is much more scientists can and should set themselves about doing in that regard. Again, I'll come back to the notion of participation. I think when people participate in something, when they experience science in their own lives, that's what opens the mental gateway to realizing Well, basically to the innately scientific infant you were at the beginning, because in the crib, we're all scientists. The scientific method is the essence of how a human infant develops into an adult and a toddler. It's testing, it's trying, it's touching, it's assessing, and it's highly iterative. That's how we build our experience and our knowledge. And if we can create experiences in classrooms, in museums, in civic settings where there's an issue under discussion, where we can participate in the building of an answer, rather than just have one delivered by some font of wisdom or in a brown paper package. That's hard. That's coming square against whatever my intuitions and beliefs may be. But things I helped build, things I participated in, they lead to a different kind of understanding, and I think they open different prospects for progress. Still hard ones. I don't mean to minimize the problem, but at least a pathway.
And one more question on this front. So those of us in the baby boomer generation had lives affected by the coming of the polio vaccine. I remember as an elementary school student queuing up to get the shots, and how that relieved my parents. They didn't have to worry that my siblings were going to get polio in the summer. Do you think the current pandemic experience is going to have a similar reinforcing the role of science effect on today's youth? Or what do you think could recreate that impression of what the polio vaccine did for an earlier generation, saying, yes, science has mattered to us?
Well, I don't know if you can. I doubt that you can recurve back to that sort of magic moment. Because in the 50s, I think there'd been this huge, searing common experience of the war. And it'd been pretty, I think, unequivocal that science and technology, radar, sonar, tracking, operations research, weapons, they had won the day. They really were seminal to the Allied victory. So you came into the 50s with that glow of confidence and a much less divided and hyper-politicized body politic. Now you've got the pandemic, help each other out, going square against the fractionalism and stridency of today's time. So I don't think it can play quite that same way, which is unfortunate.
So I have a hypothesis which you can either humor me about or you can rebut if I'm wrong, which is that there may be no person living on Earth who has seen our Earth from a wider range of perspectives than you have. You've seen it from above on 3 missions to space. You've seen it from below, from the depths of the ocean. You've seen it as a student of geography and geology and the world. And you've seen it from as a head of major research institutions. Given that, that's my hypothesis. You are uniquely positioned to tell us how our planet is doing. What is the message you mainly want to convey on the climate predicament for the world right now, and what the steps are you feel most important to take to protect the Earth's climate?
Well, I would say, I think what all those experiences have taught me are a couple things. One is the scale and immensity and power of our planet and its systems are very impressive. No two ways about it. When you see hurricanes, and it's extraordinary. At the same time, both those perspectives have taught me every one of the systems of our planet, the geological, the biological, the forest, the trees, the air, the water, the ocean, things that we tend to think of as sort of separate, there's rocks and trees and oceans, are really, really richly, pervasively interconnected. And thirdly, as immense as it all seems, and that immensity can make all of us individually and collectively feel kind of insignificant, as immense as it all seems, there are also some really elegantly, precisely balanced points in this system of systems. And I had this debate with a passenger on an expedition vessel a while back. He was sort of aghast at the notion that 400 parts per million of CO2 in an atmosphere, the scale of this planet's atmosphere, could possibly matter. That's such a vanishingly small number. And I reminded him I had the math at my fingertips at the time, and I don't right now. But the parts per million of a bee sting in a 200-pound man that can put him into near fatal anaphylactic shock. And that should remind us all that sometimes our intuition about scale and impact is just way off base. in terms of how larger complex systems like our planet work. So the interconnections do matter. I guess my punchline is, climate is not just a physics and chemistry issue. Climate is an everything issue. And it's not a question of will the planet be okay. The planet will be fine. There will be a chunk of rock, third one out from the sun, orbiting around, perhaps in perpetuity. The question is what becomes of everything that lives on this planet, including us, but not only us. And so that's what we really need to think about. And it's just super clear from the data that the way we're currently living our lives economically is pushing too much of the planet towards the limits of its operating system. And every complex system has those limits, and there's always a train of consequences when you go blasting by them. So I think we need to be giving more thought to how we can, two things, how we can temper a bit how we're living today to do more to ensure a viable tomorrow, and also how we can look at what we're building and how we're operating our societies and businesses today, and really be very intentional about making them more resilient, which means move the needle from just hyper efficiency and maybe hyper economic return every 4 weeks into a longer time frame view that lets some resiliency reside in the system.
When you give a speech around the world or an interview and people come up to you afterwards and say, Dr. Sullivan, we're so impressed by what you've done and we're so energized and motivated by what you're saying, what should we do? I'm talking now on climate issues. Are you telling them mainly to try to work on the national or international level by how they vote or whatever they do? Or are you telling them mainly to do something in their communities? If I were a college-age young woman or young man saying, Dr. Sullivan, what should I do? What would you tell me or my counterparts?
To a college student, I would say, no matter what direction you think your life is going, and no matter what you think your strengths and weaknesses are, be sure when you finish your college career that you've built yourself a solid foundation of general understanding of science, engineering, math in some combination. Because whether you go into law, business, finance, politics, policy, anywhere at any level, having that understanding will be a huge value to you and make you a much more valuable and effective member of those organizations. So don't fall victim to, well, I'm not really that good at it. Play to your strengths, absolutely, but shore up your weaknesses. Again, if you're not great at math, and I'm no complete math whiz, let me assure you, but again, like muscles, I can either walk away from it because it's not super easy naturally for me, or I can work to get better at it. I'm also crummy at music, but I've really enjoyed working at getting marginally better at instruments now and then. So that's how I would tell every college student to approach the science and engineering and math that's available to them. For people older than that, I encourage them to take a both-and opportunity. Both look at how you can live your life with a little lighter footprint on the world around you, and be sure your voice, be sure the people, the elected officials in particular, at every level around you, know that this is something that you care about and that you expect them to care about.
Among the things I'm really impressed by in what you're saying, I'll just mention one, which is the idea of developing deliberately like a muscle, these various traits we don't think of in that way. I was reading recently a book by a young technology reporter who said he thinks the most valuable thing people can do to preserve their attention is to read physical books. There's a kind of exercise and discipline that gives you don't get when doom scrolling. Let me ask you about yourself. Another of my hypotheses is we're all unreliable narrators of our own path through life. There are things we see, there are things we don't see, but you've certainly had occasion to think about how you ended up where you are still emerging. You're still becoming as an astronaut, an explorer, as a major leader. What are the main mentors or turning points or breaks? What if somebody were doing the 2-minute version of your life, what would be the highlights of that?
Oh, they would certainly start with my parents. So I'm born in the early 50s. And the fact that they just so broadly and completely encouraged my curiosity, and my older brothers, by the way, with no limitation and no guardrails about, no gender boundaries, no stereotypes. If we were interested in something, they were interested in helping us explore that interest and find out if it's a strength or a skill or a passing fad, a hobby, the center of your career. You get to find that out. Inoculating us, in particular me, I think, as a young girl, with the real confidence that no one gets to edit what I'm interested in. They may have an opinion about it. They may really think it's odd that I care about something. But that's just an opinion, and it has no more impact than a puff of air unless I let it have that. But they don't get to choose for me. I get to choose. A number of teachers along the way, certainly. My inspirational mentors, the early astronauts, Jacques Cousteau, they were the people who really helped me see that this wonderful reality that some people lead lives that just seem intrinsically adventurous and inquisitive. Like, being inquisitive and adventurous is what they do. It's what they are. It was a wonderful contrast to my father, who put on a shirt and tie and drove down the road. He was a very creative engineer, but as a young girl, you don't see that. You see the boring aspect of a daily commute. And that's contrasted with the drama of Jacques Cousteau. I guess one other thing I would say about mentors in my life, I'm old enough that I come from the earlier school, the former school of mentorship, which especially for girls and women it was not like by name and by appointment. And so I developed the mindset that I can learn something from everyone around me. Everyone I watch, I might just see them on TV, I might just read about them in a book or a magazine. They might not look anything like me, but I can still take some insight from them and then figure out how to apply that or grow it within me. And so, today's mantra, very common mantra, if I can't see it, I can't be it. I push back on that, because if it were really true, no human being would ever have done anything for the first time. And I just refuse to accept that I can't learn anything about grace and eloquence from Maya Angelou because her skin color is different. And I can't learn anything about courage and intrepiditude from Neil Armstrong or Nelson Mandela because they're male. That's nonsense. I can't take it a cookie cutter into my life, but people like that inspired me in countless ways through many, many years when I was just reading about them. I'm lucky to have never encountered a supervisor or a professor who was just really brazenly and abusively harsh or cruel about my wanting to move into fields where it was not common yet for a woman to be. So a little bit of good Irish luck and blessing along the way never hurts.
This may seem a preposterous question to address to someone who's done what you have done, but was there any significant mistake you made along the way, or any lesson you would tell people, by all means, don't do this thing X that I'm so sorry to have done?
Oh, there's a litany of mistakes, happily most of which were, in retrospect, only embarrassing at the moment and not totally devastating. There've certainly been moments that I realized in retrospect were more knife edge than I recognized at the time. Minor slip this way and everything might have turned out very different. And there, I can't look back at any choice I've made when the road forked. And you have to choose which fork you're going to go down without knowing what lies down each fork. That's the quandary of life. You don't get to flip to the back page of the book and see how that one turns out and that one turns out. So you just have to jump in and then live on the one you've chosen and make the best of it that you can. I mean, goodness, the opportunities and experiences and blessings that I've had through my life, if I could claim to have some regrets about something, I'd be a fool.
You're being honored, of course, as the 31st medalist by DRI. DRI is an important part of this research establishment, has been so important for the U.S. Again, the major international research universities, private corporate research, the federal labs, et cetera, et cetera. What's the specific message you would be giving to a regionally based but internationally ambitious institution like DRI about what should be the guiding principle of its work in the years to come?
Well, as I look through the work that DRI is currently doing and how it's evolved over the years, it's clear to me that this is an institution that has asked itself that question with some regularity and evolved and adapted accordingly. It's physically situated in the desert, but that doesn't mean it's constrained itself to just working on desert issues. At the same time, several of its primary thrusts, atmosphere, earth systems, water resources, what better laboratory, what better setting to really dig in and develop expertise around those key factors than the deserts of Nevada. And of course, as you look at the world at large in these days and ages, those three things are going to be pivotal to so many challenges that we're going to face everywhere. Water resources are going to be one of the really emergent challenges at every scale from local to global in the decade ahead. So the kind of expertise and insights that DRI can bring to policymakers and decision makers grappling with those challenges is really exciting. DRI strikes me a little bit like NOAA, that agency that I love so much, because it is both about advancing knowledge and delivering practical solutions to places where it really matters. But it's got the autonomy that can let it find the unasked questions or look at the common questions from different perspectives. And it's got a wonderful commitment through its foundation to putting significant financial resource directly onto the young, emerging, bright talents and bright minds that will shape our future. And I'm really excited about that.
Well, Dr. Kathryn Sullivan, 31st Nevada medalist, thank you so much for doing us the honor of having this discussion. Congratulations, and back to Mike Benjamin.
That was an amazing conversation and insight into the remarkable pioneer and explorer. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan and Mr. Fallows, for sharing these amazing stories and memorable moments in history, and for helping us look into the future of science.
Hello, it's Senator Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, and I wanted to congratulate Dr. Kathryn Sullivan on her 2021 Desert Research Institute Nevada Medal of Science. Dr. Sullivan is an incredible inspiration to Nevadans. She's a world-class scientist, the first American woman to walk in space, an oceanographer, and an author. I hope her incredible success encourages all young Nevadans to explore the sciences and shows young girls across the state the importance of women in STEM fields. I also want to thank the Desert Research Institute for all the work they do to drive scientific discovery and environmental research in Nevada. Thanks to all the participants in today's awards ceremony. Together, we can continue to ensure Nevada is a place where science and innovation flourish.
Hello, everyone. I'm Senator Jackie Rosen, and I'm proud to represent our great state of Nevada in the United States Senate. The spirit of discovery, innovation, and impactful science has made the Desert Research Institute an internationally recognized leader in scientific research. I want to thank the DRI for hosting today's awards ceremony honoring Dr. Kathryn Sullivan. Today, we honor your pioneering career and your contributions to the science community. Dr. Sullivan, as the first American woman to walk in space, you have inspired countless women. Your career as an astronaut, 3 missions to space, an explorer to the deepest depths of the ocean, and as an author, has inspired the next generation of scientists. And it highlights why we must get more girls interested in STEM because, the sky's the limit. Congratulations on becoming the 31st DRI Nevada Medal of Science recipient. Thank you, and enjoy the celebration.
From our skies to the surface of the earth to the depths of our waterways, the scientists at DRI are on a quest to solve some of the most complex issues that may affect our daily decisions and the lives of our families. As a nonprofit research institute, DRI's hundreds of scientists and faculty members are actively looking at issues that affect all of us. And they are laser focused on finding ways to solve those issues in creative and innovative ways. I would like to thank all of you for spending your valuable time with us.
It is this magic mix of academic passion and private sector support that has earned DRI a reputation for delivering high-quality scientific information. Today, DRI is a recognized world leader in environmental research. We have 3 key research divisions: hydrologic, atmospheric, and earth and ecosystem sciences. We also have a robust STEM education program for students. We are committed to education and workforce development as well as diversity.
Thank you for your interest in the innovative work taking place at DRI. We sure have enjoyed sharing this special program with you, reaching beyond Nevada, across our country, and around the world in this new format. We thank you for joining us for our special one-hour look at the Nevada Medal and our honoree, Dr. Sullivan. We want to thank everyone who was part of our special program, our current and former federal and state elected officials, Dr. Sullivan, James Fallows, and former medalists.
A special thank you to the Chair of the Nevada Medal 2021 and Vice Chair of our DRI Foundation, Nora James, as well as our fellow board trustees. A thank you to the Nevada System of Higher Education for all its support. A big expression of gratitude goes to our sponsors and supporters without whom this work at DRI would not be possible. A special thank you to our presenting sponsor, Tom and Mary Gallagher Foundation. Thank you to our production partners in delivering this innovative format for the 31st Nevada Medal. We invite you to keep up on all the environmental news that are of interest to you by subscribing to our newsletter at dri.edu or follow us on social media at DRI Science. Until next time.